Can't use
Hi,
the.
Gypsy. We are back with another live recruiter Q&A giveaway. This week we have Ashley and Nick from Travel Nurse Across America. Travel Nurse Across America was rated best overall agency in our agency survey last year. They are a travel nurse staffing agency that places RNs and surgical techs on short-term assignments in acute care facilities nationwide. TNAA has a dedicated team of specialists to help ensure you are taken care of every step of the way. They currently have over 7,000 jobs and are booking immediate fall and winter assignments. So that's a little bit about TNAA. Ashley and Nick here are going to be giving you a little bit more information. Be sure to ask questions because we'll be giving away a $20 Amazon gift card to one lucky nurse who asks questions. We'll put your name in a drawing, and then after the live event, we'll let you know who won. If you asked questions last week and they didn't get a chance to answer them, post them again, and they'll answer again. So I'd like to introduce you to Nick and Ashley. Hi, guys.
How's it going, everybody?
Hello.
I'm going to hop off here. Everyone ask your nurse questions, travel nurse questions.
You can ask nurse questions. I think Ashley and I can handle it.
You can ask me whatever you want. How are you?
I actually have a question for you to start. What did you do to prep for this as far as physically getting ready to do this live thing? I didn't ask you this last time, but I thought it was interesting to ask.
I slapped my face a little bit.
That's it? Just slap your face, put your hair in a bun, and slap your face?
I drank 3 cups of coffee. I got a Coke, this cup of water, this cup of coffee, and then 12 push-ups.
I think you're good on caffeine. Well, I brought it up because it was really funny. So, I had to, kind of vain. So I had to do my hair and make sure that, this was all lined up. And then for some reason I sprayed cologne thinking that, the people who are watching are going to and my wife goes, why are you spraying cologne? You're doing something like no one's going to smell you. I'm like, but I want to present myself as if someone that smells good, So
yeah, like that dude smells great.
Yeah, I can tell just by his look on the camera, he smells really good.
Smells like he's going to get me a contract.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Whatever works. So hopefully it goes through. So
we do have people logging on. Hi, Mindy. Hi, Gina. Getting some questions already. So we're doing this again. Sure, and we were backed by popular demand, obviously. So just a quick introduction. Should we just restart?
Yeah.
My name's Ashley. I've been doing this for almost 6 years, which I'll say it again, I'll say it every time. Seems like a lifetime, but like the quickest lifetime ever. Got into this randomly. I was working for Jack Daniels before and decided to get into a whole other industry of medicine. I love working with people, talking to nurses. I've developed such a admiration for nurses over the years that I guess you probably would never have unless for some reason you were sick in a hospital, have a family member like yourself, or talk to you guys all day. So it's been a fun, wild ride. But Nick, why don't you tell everybody how you got into this? It's much more exciting.
Absolutely. Well, Jack Daniels, wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's a good transition from Jack Daniels to travel nurse recruiter, an amazing travel nurse recruiter, in fact. So like Ashley said, my name is Nick Garcia. I got into it in a very odd way in that I guess not too odd, but my wife is a pediatric ICU nurse, and she was doing that for about 5 years in the state of Texas before we decided to pack our bags and hit the road with our daughter. And so she decided to interview a whole bunch of agencies and came on TNAA team and has never left. She's been traveling with them. She finished traveling early this spring and took a full-time job in Colorado, where we are currently at. So I lived and worked as a stay-at-home dad. It's a job, but so I was it is a job. It's a big job, but so I was a stay-at-home dad with her, and we traveled. And my job, outside of taking care of our beautiful daughter, was to basically look for our next assignment, find housing. Have that. I had a lot to do with the housing side, and really, with PICU, you're looking at major hospitals, so it was always the bigger cities that we were looking for assignments for her. So that was, again, the housing thing was a big part of what I did. And then I met the amazing people of TNAA. I met a lot of their executive team, directors, other recruiters, while Brittany was on a Traveler Advantage program, which is something that's amazing that TNAA does. I don't know that any other agency does it. It's an opportunity for our nurses to come into our home office in North Little Rock, Arkansas, and learn a little bit more kind of behind the scenes stuff on TNAA. And they actually invited me along because Brittany was it was a 1 week gap between the end of one assignment to the start of the next. And she was like, I'd love to be a part of this program. However, Nick and I had a trip planned because we don't have too much opportunities to do a lot of one-on-one stuff because, again, we have our daughter with us on the road. They're like, oh, come out, please. We'll fly him out too. And I mean, they catered. They gave me money to go out to dinner and to lunch and breakfast, and they treated me to all the stuff they were treating the nurses with. And long story short, that turned into a job opportunity for me as a recruiter. And it's been amazing. It's been a great opportunity to do something different than what I was doing before. So.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome story. I would be interested. Well, every so often I will come across a nurse and I hardly talk to the nurse. I talk to the significant other, usually because they work in night shift. And it's so hard to get in touch with you guys when you're working nights, which we definitely, it's tough to communicate with you guys when you're working nights. I'd love to know your responses in terms of when the best time is, what the best way to reach you guys is during night shift. But that's such a funny relationship when you talk to the significant other, because I have a traveling pair, a NICU nurse going to San Diego. I talk to her fiance all the time. He kind of relays all the information. So it's interesting how we can make it work and what we can do to get these nurses who, you either sleep, you work, or maybe you're eating or working out or something within the 1 hour free time that you have. But we do make it work however we can. So that's a really good story, and I'm really glad that you are on board with TNAA, because that Traveler Advantage program is amazing.
It is, yeah, and it's exclusive to our nurses, so that's that's kind of a cool thing. You can't really get it anywhere else. But I'd like to kind of second the thing on the whole travel nurse, like the night nurses. How terrible do you feel when you call somebody that is one of your travelers? They're on night shift, but you don't know what days they're off and what days they're on, and you call them, and they're like, "What do you want, Ashley? It's like my 3 a.m. Leave me alone." Isn't that awful? It's the worst. I wish I had their schedules in front of me. So I'm like, all right, let's not call right now. Let's give it a break, and kind of wait for you guys to, hit us up. But I guess if there is any recommendations or suggestions from you guys out there, how to best communicate when you're on nights, if there's like, hey, if you want to call me while I'm at work, call me at 9 or 10 at night. I'll be available. Like, just any suggestions y'all might have would be fantastic.
Well, we have the luxury, TNAA, we all work remote. So we have that luxury of saying, hey, call me at 9 o'clock. I can probably make that work. I'm literally in my basement. I can walk down and call you. So that's a huge advantage of having a TNAA recruiter. And I'm not saying every recruiter is going to jump down and do that, but we just have that, kind of luxury of working with you on that side. I guess with that, I think I lost my train of thought there because I was talking about my cool basement. But
do you want to go to a question?
Yes, sorry, there's questions popping up here. Brittany on Instagram asked what your dream contract would be if you were a traveler. What makes TNAA stand out from other companies? Katie Ward commented, and I really want to get to her question.
It cut out for a second. There you go.
Katie Ward. Hi, Katie. Thank you for your question. First of all, we're going to get you a gift card to Starbucks. So DM me your information, and our corporate will send you out a gift card. So thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Says, do you staff outside the hospital? Mostly not. No, most of our contracts are going to be in a hospital. Every once in a while, we might get like an LTAC facility, but nothing. Mostly acute care, yes. Nick, I don't know if you've seen anything different, but all of our stuff's in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, 99.8% of our needs are going to be short-term acute care. So, but I have seen the one-off LTAC. They're looking for, however, even though they are looking for LTAC, they're looking for an experienced ICU or maybe a PCU tele-nurse who's got the experience in short-term acute care, but it just happens to be a facility that needed some additional help in their LTAC facility. So
Yeah.
um,
So if you're looking to get out of the hospital, Katie, not so much. But if we can find you an awesome hospital that might rejuvenate your love for being in the acute care, that we can do.
let's see, we got one from Melanie. How long are your contracts and where? Typically, they're going to be 13 weeks. That seems to be the norm. I think we touched on this a little bit last week, but to kind of follow up, it's 13 weeks because your first week you're under the assumption it's going to be orientation. Now it's not a full week of orientation. Sometimes it's just a couple hours in one day, and then your second shift you're with a preceptor, and possibly shift 3 you're on the unit. But they want you there for 3 months. So if you just do the little calculation of you've got 13 weeks, the first week is orientation, learning about the hospital, learning whatever types of the EMR, if there's additional EMR training that is necessary for that job, and then you're on the unit for 12 straight weeks until your next one. There are some 8s. Occasionally some facilities will do some incentivizing by, if you sign a 26-week contract, your pay might increase a little bit. So that's always something to look for. If you know you want to go somewhere and you want to be there long term, if they have the ability to do a 26-week contract, we can definitely request that. We have needs that get posted that'll say 13 or 26. And again, with that 26, there could be an incentive there by the hospital that they put in place. Say, hey, we will incentivize you if you want to sign 26 weeks. We'll up that pay rate a little bit. So always something to consider.
Yeah, definitely. Get more questions. Oh, you're currently in Atlanta. We do a lot in and around Atlanta. Most of the hospitals in that general area will have a radius restriction, which, if you want to dive right into the good stuff, Nick, there's a big misconception in traveling of a 50-mile radius for being able to take an assignment.
Cut out.
For me.
There you go. It cuts out every now and then for like 5-6 seconds, but then you come right back in. So it's because you're in the basement. That's why. It's the basement. Your beautiful basement.
In the middle of a cornfield. So sorry. There's a big misconception there on the 50-mile radius restriction. So being Atlanta made me realize this, to talk about hospitals have radius restrictions of their own limits, where they say, hey, if somebody lives within 50 miles, doorstep to doorstep, they cannot be considered a traveler under a traveler rate. Now, that could spear off into 2 different ways. You could take an assignment there under what they would offer as a local rate. So you're probably going to make a little bit less than what a traveler would. So there's that way to do it. Or you can travel a little over 1 hour and 15 minutes from your doorstep to take a contract and still be under the IRS guidelines to take tax-free stipends. And again, I'm bringing this up because of being in Atlanta. There's a lot of travelers in and around Atlanta who always have this question. I think it's because it's such a big mecca for hospitals and medicine. I was kind of rambling there, but did I answer that question and kind of make sense of that, Nick?
Yeah, no, and actually, yeah, I'm glad that question got brought up, because it does, and it seems to be not just Atlanta necessarily, but like major cities in general, they'll have that requirement. And again, there is a huge misconception about that 50-mile radius rule and hour and 15. So what you said was, exactly spot on. Like, the hospital puts that limit in place of 50 miles. So you'll see sometimes on different websites or blogs that you can't be a traveler if it's within 50 miles. Well, that's a hospital thing. That's something that the hospital sets up. But IRS guidelines are, if you're working 3/12, so 36 hours, it's actually an hour 15. And it's a little weirder because if you're an OR nurse and you're working 4/10s or 5/8s, it's an hour and a half. So it's not just an hour 15. It also depends on how many hours a week you're working. I don't remember exactly if it's hours or days, but I do know that if it's 4/10s or 5/8s, it's got to be an hour and a half one way to commute. And that is what awards you the tax-free stipends again. But that 50-mile radius rule is something that some hospitals put in place. And it's not just 50. Some, I've seen 200 miles in, I forget where exactly it was, but it was a 200-mile radius rule. Yeah,
I just submitted a girl for Salem. Now, see, theirs is 200, but they have a local rate. But she's also an hour and 20 minutes away from the hospital, so she qualifies for the per diem. at a local travel rate. And these are all inside tips that a recruiter knows. I know there's some agencies out there who are cutting out the recruiter. They're saying, cut out the middleman, you don't need us. And honestly, good luck trying to navigate. Good luck trying to navigate all of the rules and what hospitals have what for radius restrictions. Honestly, that is why you need us. We have to be able to tell you, like, oh, that's going to be kind of risky. You don't want to put that red flag out there, or don't even waste your time submitting to the hospital. You're going to get thrown out because you're too close. So, I don't know, hit two not so fun topics to talk about there right off the bat, but
they're important. They're
yeah.
important. You know, those are just standards across the board. And then, kind of to plug TNAA again on that note, let's say your recruiter doesn't, we mess up, and we're human. We're going to mess up on things, and I might see a job, and you might be 2 miles within that radius rule. Like, oh, I'm going to try, and well, let's try. One thing that's amazing about TNAA is we've got a contract admin team that are phenomenal. They'll catch that before we even build your contract out and say, hey, Nick, time out. They're actually within that, within that guideline, so we can't necessarily send them in this capacity. We might have to look for a local rate, or that's just something that you get with TNAA that is amazing, is that you should have no fear when it comes to the IRS. If they're wanting to audit, like, you're going to be in good hands with TNAA, because we've got that. It's basically like we've got somebody back checking us, and our contract admin team can help with that. So,
well, and not only that, and I know it's not fun if you get that email of like, hey, you're this many miles too close, but it's 6 years from now when the IRS still comes back and audits you. So again, not fun, but something to really be aware of.
absolutely.
And there's more questions that are coming in. What questions should I ask during an interview with a facility? Nick, I don't know what you do with your recruiters, but I send out an email. As soon as you start submitting to jobs, I send you an email. I say, print it off, keep it in your back pocket. Managers are going to call you literally whenever they want. I've had
Whenever they
call
can.
on weekends at 7 o'clock at night. Like, I have no idea. Sometimes I know. But the questions are typically, what is scheduling like? I know that's a big one. Is it self versus a scheduler? How many weekends are you going to be working? What's the call off going to be like? Scrub color, obviously, approving that time off that you requested, confirming the shift, because they might tell us it's days, but they could also have nights open, and that day's ones just got filled. I promise we're not lying to you. It's just that the manager changed it, and we're like, I don't know, the job order said days. I'm sorry. Like, we're not trying to be shady and get you shoved into a night position, but that does happen. So ask. Nick, what else do you tell people to ask?
No, I mean, those are really the highlights. I think you've hit up, and there's sometimes that I've gotten some conflicting stories before, and so they just kind of, I don't know if this is going to help, but I've heard of travelers who have asked, like, is overtime allowed? Some people don't like that question. Some nurse managers don't like that question. They I don't know why. If just that's, and then there's pre-questions that I would think that before you even think of asking the nurse manager, ask your recruiter, hey, can you think I can ask this question? Is this an acceptable question? Because there might be stuff on the back end that we see that we, maybe just forgot to share in the beginning before we submit you out, that we can say, oh, look, it looks like there is, that they love when travelers take overtime, or, that is the time off thing that you touched on. That's a huge thing. Make sure you tell your recruiter on the front end any time off that you're going to need during that 13 weeks. Obviously, we know the holidays are coming up right now, so the expectation, just like if you were staff, you're most likely going to be expected to work 2 of those 3 holidays. So if you're wanting one off, that's fine. We will submit as you're requesting, but just kind of put it in your back pocket that you might have to work those other 2. And it's helpful for us because we can put them in this, in the notes to when we submit you out. Hey, she really needs Christmas Eve off or Christmas Day off, but she's totally cool with working Thanksgiving and New Year's, and that kind of helps. So just kind of be aware of that upon the questions that you ask during your interview and then submitting and things like that.
Well, and there's part of that too. There's some new kind of interviewing processes in the industry now where you guys might not even talk to your manager. There's things called a voice automated interview. we're going to record yourself answering 18 to 22 questions, typically about your skill set and your work history. You're going to want to be upbeat and positive, and you're like, I'm the best nurse ever, because all they're listening to is your voice. There's no over-the-phone interview. It is part of the regulation that they set up between hospital, VMS, and agency. They're cutting out taking the managers 45 minutes to do an interview. They trust us to do the process. They listen to your voice automated interview. If it sounds good, they're going to offer you the job based off of that. It's called an auto offer. It can scare the bejesus out of people when they get it because they're like, I didn't talk to anybody. Yeah, we can see if it's possible. We can send over any questions that you might have via email, but that's going to be it. Huge on the West Coast right now. I'm trying to think of other areas, kind of the Southeast, but that is a thing. So
a lot of virtual offers.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Another question. How many weeks can you take in between contracts and still have insurance benefits? Thanks, Tina, for the question. Do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
Tina, that's a good question. You know what? That's such a good question. You should get a gift card. Send me a message with your info, and we'll get that mailed out to you. And hi, Jackie. Oh, I love seeing all these people on here. I seriously. Can you hear me? Okay.
There you go.
How many weeks can you take in between contracts and still have insurance? So we have something called a bridge insurance for TNAA. This is just us specifically, but as long as you have your next assignment lined up by the end of your first assignment to start within 2.5, 3 weeks, right, Nick?
21-day bridge gap.
21
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
You continue on our insurance and stay on the whole time. But another big thing with us is that we have day one insurance. So the day you start your assignment, if you choose insurance, it kicks in, which is huge.
Absolutely. And to kind of go off of that 21-day bridge gap, that is what we offer. Again, other agencies might have a different type of bridge gap, or they might not have one at all. The day your contract ends, you might no longer have insurance. I'm not quite sure. Even though ours is 21, I always like to tell my nurses, like, just kind of for, to keep it safe, just figure 15 to 18 days, because sometimes you might have an assignment on day 21 and you're still covered, but then right before you start, something with compliance doesn't go through and you're like, oh crap, I can't start this day. I have to wait another week. You could potentially be looking at a week without insurance, and nobody wants that. That's, an awful situation to be in. So even though, again, we do have that 21-day, just like I said, I recommend my nurses play it safe, and let's look at 14 days, and then so if something does happen, you have that ability to still be covered up to that next that following week. So
yeah, good question. Hope that answered it. And you can go to our website, tnaa.com/benefits, and we list them all right there. We are a very benefits heavy company. We do a lot of things that other companies don't. One of those, just off the top of my head, Nick, we touched on this last time, but housing. If you need any help with paying like a, what's it called, down payment fee, security deposit, $1,000 out of your pocket just to get started, call us. Our housing team will actually send your landlord a W-9, pay it for you, and then it gets deducted from your paycheck. But it's super helpful to not have so high of startup costs. So just little things like that we do that others don't. But really, I wanted to answer some more of these questions that the Gypsies have been asking. So I took some screenshots, Nick, bear with me.
No, you're fine.
Well, first of all, one, they just found that nurse who was missing in the Sequoia.
Oh, did they really? In
Yes,
California? And she was alive?
Alive. She was just lost. So
oh my God, that is awesome. I know they found her car, a couple days ago, or yesterday or the day before. I saw that. That was the last update I think that we had, was they found her car, and this was 2 days after she had gone missing. So what, she's 4 or 5 days now?
Yeah, it was posted this morning, so
Oh,
she's
wow.
good, which I always tell my gals. Can't hear me, not can hear me. Okay, I have a lot of young single girls who travel by themselves. It's just part of doing this, even older women. Share your location with somebody. If it's a best friend, if it's your mom, I don't care how intrusive that feels, but sometimes I might be the only person you talk to on a consistent basis, and 7 days can go by. And if I haven't heard from you, I imagine you're busy or you're sleeping. So seriously, share your location with people. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. I was in Boy Scouts, and I learned, like, I mean, I know people do it, and I get it. Like, it's sometimes there's really nice to be in that solitude completely alone. But, like, to me, that's like a huge no-no. You at least got to have one person with you. Like, have a partner with you. And again, have a plan of action of who knows that I'm out here. I know when we went to, Brittany was on an assignment at Seattle Children's, and we went up there. You can go to the National Forest and like cut down your own tree for Christmas, which was the most amazing experience. But we went off on our own, and there was nobody around. But before we hit the mountains, I let one of my buddies know. I said, hey, here's where we're going. We're going to go look for a Christmas tree. If you don't hear from me, because this was our first experience doing anything like this, if you don't hear from me by the end of the evening, call somebody, because we're stuck and we're lost. Because you need to have that, because the national parks, we're huge on that, but the national parks, they're beautiful, but they're massive and they're extensive, and you can find yourself lost really quick anywhere you go out there. So definitely, that's super great news that they found her. That's awesome.
I know. And then, okay, so a couple other things I've seen. Obviously, one of the biggest things is people will post a pay package, and they'll say, this one just says, I've been offered $1,700 for Pomona, California. Is this good? I have no idea. I don't know what kind of nurse you are. I don't know if it's for 13 weeks, 8 weeks. I don't know if you're taking a bunch in insurance. I don't know if your travel mileage is $400 or $1,000. There are so many things that go into these packages, and people just throw it out there. I'm going to make $500. Is this good? Sure. I don't know. Can you pay your bills? Like, that's my biggest thing. I don't want to sound harsh by any sense, but my question is always, is that package something where you can pay your bills, you can pay to live, and you're saving money? If the answer is no, then no, it's not a good package for you, and move on. If there's any room to negotiate, I mean, ask your recruiter. Sometimes there is. It just depends. Sometimes it can be a hard no. We're giving you all the money up front that we can so that we don't have to come back and negotiate for 12 hours. Because I promise not all of us want to string you along and then all of a sudden be like, oh, I found $700 extra per hour for you. Like, it doesn't work that way. Oh,
No, I mean, that's always a sticky thing when you see that out there. And we understand that y'all are going to talk. We know that that's day one that's going to happen, that you're going to kind of compare, and just know that each agency is different. The way that our pay packages are built are completely different from one another. If you've got quoted one pay package, and then the hospital the very next day could say, oh no, we really need nurses, and they increase the bill rate. And you can have people, and we hate to see that happen, but you can see somebody that's like, why am I making so much less than this other person? Because it is going to happen. You're not going to be the lowest every time. You're not going to be the highest every time, but it does happen. And like, it's so hard for us to kind of like, well, somebody explained it. One of our amazing recruiters here explained it this way, and I loved the way she explained it. If you purchase a airline ticket 2 months in advance for a trip that you're going to take, and then in a month you find that ticket is now $300 less, is the airline going to be able to do anything like, oh, you know what, you found it less, so we're going to give it to you? So we can't. There's nothing, and it's a tough situation to be in as a recruiter, and it's frustrating as a traveler. I get it, but it's just part of this this industry, and that's just kind of how it happens. And I hate to say roll with the punches, because it's easy for me to say that, not the one working and seeing that somebody else that's on the same unit might be making more. But these things happen. The next time around, it could be the roles reversed, and you have the higher pay package on the unit, or the highest, versus everybody else, because you signed earlier, or you signed right at the last minute when they had a increased bill rate. So,
that's so true. That
so
just
many
happened to my
factors.
nurse.
Yeah, it happened with mine too. That's how I was like, how do I explain this? And this is so tough. And like, I mean, it's just, again, that's where that airline, it came into play, and I thought it was so great. It was like it was the easiest way to explain it to my traveler, to like, because I was like, man, this is going to stink that I have to explain this is what happened. But we can't control when the facility says, oh shoot, we're 3 weeks out and we still have needs. Let's up that bill rate really quick and pay that nurse, whoever wants to come in. But I already signed a contract at this lower. Yeah, they just, at the time they didn't have that, So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But I think you hit the nail on the head.
Well, and you better bet your bottom dollar I went back and said, hey, my nurse feels gypped. Can I get her more money? And they said no. It's like, oh crap. Like, sorry, I can't.
Right.
So again, one of those things, not really fun to talk about, but I feel like if you're tuning in now, you've probably listened to more of these. And so if you have any like real questions, please throw them up. I see one of them, just a real quick answer. Lori, does the contract end on your last day of work on the contract or the actual day of the contract? It's the actual day. Typically they end on Saturdays. So your last day, you could be scheduled Saturday night into Sunday, but that would be your last day. So if your last day scheduled is like Tuesday, you're still going to get.
Do you want to finish that last? Yeah, just finish that last little bit. You said you're still going to get, and then I think you cut off. But you're still going to. I'm assuming you're saying you're still going to get your tax-free subsidies and all the per diems and stuff through Saturday. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
As long as you work your 36 hours, which.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think most people understand this. I do see the question asked every once in a while about stipends. If you don't work, you don't earn your stipends. How the whole industry works is that you work your hours for us to pay you. So if you work your 36 hours, you're going to get your stipend. If you happen to not get your 36 hours that week, more than likely, your stipend money is going to be deducted for those hours that you're short. So that's kind of snowballing into a whole different, again, not a fun part of the conversation, but it is real, and you have to work your 36 hours in this industry. So
somehow we turned our really fun first round of this into a really tough conversation one. I don't know. Can we get back into like some fun stuff to talk about? It's like I feel like we're just harping on all these really tough things, which again, they're important to hear. So I know that Ashley and I are like, oh, we're just getting into the meat of the unpretty side of it, but it's definitely something that everybody should be aware of.
The meat and potatoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the fatty meat that nobody really wants to eat besides your grandpa, who it's like, oh, you probably shouldn't eat that, grandpa.
Let's see. Trying to see if we have any other questions. Do you have any other ones that you screenshot? I know you sent me some that you took. I don't know if you have any other.
Okay, I do have a question. If a nurse leaves your company, again, fun stuff. If a nurse leaves your company because they want an assignment at a location that you currently don't have, do you try and get that assignment for them, or do you welcome them back with open arms when they leave you? I'm just wondering if some recruiters hold grudges when a nurse leaves for that reason.
I mean, I think you probably will second this, that I think we attempt both. We immediately will contact our account managers and say, hey, do we have contracts at this hospital? There are some hospitals that have genuine, they'll call them exclusive, they have genuine exclusive needs where they're the only agency on record that can get that assignment at that location. And we will still make the attempt and ask our account managers, hey, is this possible? And you know what? It could be it's not possible for us this time, but maybe that hospital would be open to looking at a TNAA traveler for the next time, and we can build that relationship. But I mean, if you have the opportunity to go somewhere that we just can't do it, a good recruiter, and I know Ashley is definitely one, I'm learning to be one, so let's see how I go with this, but we would definitely, please go take that assignment. If it's like in your dream location and we don't have it, please go take it. And then we would 100% welcome you back with open arms for the next one if we can get you where you want to go for the next one. And we'll keep in touch. We'll make sure you're doing great and asking how the assignment is going while you're on that assignment. I think there may be people out there that take it hard and they harbor a grudge on you for doing that, but you have to do what's best for you. Like that is the whole purpose of you traveling. Is I know the money is important. I know location, traveling for somewhere specifically that you want to go. Those are important things for you guys. And you have to do what's best for you. Like, don't not take something because you're going to hurt our feelings. Like, we're big boys and girls. We can handle it. You know, it's tough because we hate losing good nurses if that's what happens, but we also love when you come back and you say, you know what, you know, the experience was great. I'm glad I got to go, but I want to get back with you and get back to taking assignments with TNAA. I don't know if I missed anything. Is there any more that you can add on that?
No, you're spot on. I mean, literally, Jackie, who said, hi, Ashley, wonderful traveler, worked forever to get her an assignment, didn't have the location where she wanted for her next one. And it was literally like, no, my heart. Like, it makes me more sad just because I feel like I'm losing a friend of like, I did you a disservice versus I'm so pissed that you left me. How could you do that? I mean, we're all human beings. And I think when you find a really good nurse and you guys have that bond and the connection, they feel just as bad. Make money or go wherever that location is. So no grudges. Just please come back to us.
Absolutely. And, you know, I want to give this, I don't know that this happens very often, but I want to give a shout out. I don't know who the recruiter is, but this was with another agency. They actually sent me a nurse, not me specifically. I just got lucky enough to be the one to work with this nurse, with this traveler. This agency sent us a nurse that knew that we have these awesome opportunities in Kalispell, Montana. We've got phenomenal jobs in Kalispell, Montana. And they knew, that recruiter from that other agency knew that TNAA was the agency to go to get that. And so she actually gave up her nurse and said, go talk to TNAA, go talk to them about this pick you need. And I like that. That is awesome. Like, that's how it should be. You know, if we can't fill something and we know that somebody else can get you something, I think that, again, we do this job to help you guys out and to get you where you want to go, the money that you want to make, all those things. And I wish I knew that recruiter's name, because like I would reach out to him like, hey, you want to create a little partnership? Because it was awesome. It was so cool to hear that another competing agency sent somebody to us because they knew that we had the best opportunity to get that nurse a job. So, you know, that's cool.
Speaking of like states where we have a ton of opportunity, what do you know about Washington and the general area of Seattle, and what kind of crazy opportunities we have?
I don't think we have any jobs in Tacoma, Washington. Just kidding. We've got a ton of jobs up there. We have some of the best assignments and opportunities out there right now. No experience, a year to 2 year travel, depending on your unit. Year to 1 year. 1 year to 2 year nursing experience, no travel. We have, again, just the best opportunity and then also for January starts. So that's always one thing when we were traveling, is like, how soon can we get our next assignment locked up? And it's a huge thing to try and get that locked up as soon as possible. And there are some January needs posted throughout the country, but right now we've got amazing jobs up there in the Seattle-Tacoma area for new nurses to start, whether you've traveled before or you have not. So reach out to any TNAA recruiter and we'll get you something.
Get you a bonus for signing on, $250.
Yes.
And you register to be a part of our TNAA Gives Back campaign, which you could win a new car.
The ultimate give back, yeah.
The ultimate give back, yeah. I mean, you guys do so much all day, every day. Last year we gave away 4 Subarus. This year I don't think we released the car. I know it's in correlation with the GMC dealer down in Little Rock for the first one. But there's some really cool kind of opportunities and prize packages going on with. Hello? Can you
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, everybody, if I keep cutting out. I wore this shirt for my team specifically. It says Corn State Original. My nickname is called Big Corn because I live in a cornfield. It's really, sometimes I'm sweet corn, sometimes I'm canned corn. Lots of questions in here that we have not answered. One of them says, hey, y'all, looking good, which they're talking to you for that one, Nick.
Don't know about that.
What protection do you have if we don't work 36 hours? You want to take that one?
So It really depends on why you're not working your 36 hours. Obviously, Ashley talked about this earlier about making sure that if you're sick one day, it is in your best interest to try and pick up another shift to get to your 36 hours, because that is what you're contracted to work. For the most part, again, contracts depend on what kind of shift and what kind of nurse you are, but 36 hours is the standard. So if you call in sick, and it is within your power to pick up another extra shift to get that 36 hours, and that's great. But if you are called off due to low census, and that's something that TNAA we have, if you're called off due to low census, you still will be awarded your tax-free subsidies, even if you don't hit your, so if you get called off for 1 week, or I'm sorry, for one shift in a week, and you hit, 24 hours instead of your 36, but it's due to low census, the nurse manager calls and says, hey, we don't need you, we're calling you off. You still, obviously you're not going to get your hourly rate, which, why would you? You didn't work, so you're not going to get that, the taxable rate that we provide, but you still get that tax-free subsidy. So that's kind of your guaranteed pay, that if it's due to low census, and obviously with TNA travelers, make sure it's documented that it's, you were called off due to low census, so that there's no question of, well, hey, you only worked 24 hours. Did you call in sick or whatever? So those are some of those guarantees.
Right. And I see that often on Gypsy Nurse. They say, put in your contract that you're going to get guaranteed hours. That's not something your agency has any control over. Hospitals have a policy way up at the 500-foot level. I have nothing to do with it, about what their call off is. A hospital could have a call off of once every 2 weeks, 36 hours in a month, 36 hours the entire assignment. That is on us as your recruiter to know and to give you a heads up on. If I see one that's like, ooh, this call off is unlimited, so they can call you off literally whenever they want. This is something we need to talk about. One, TNAA has a pay package with call-off policy insurance. We could get into a whole nother discussion there, but it is worth mentioning that we do have a pay package. If you choose that, you will get paid your hourly wage no matter how many hours you're called off.
Mm-hmm.
But really, for the meat and gristly
No.
Okay. I said for the meat and gristly, fatty potato part, the hospital is dictating that. If their call off is once every 2 weeks, then they can call you off once every 2 weeks. I don't have anything to do with it. Now, there are some out there that do say guaranteed hours, and that's huge. But again, your recruiter should be giving you a heads up on that. You should never go in blind thinking you're going to get 36 hours, and then you get called off once every 2 weeks. Can be a big difference in your pay package.
Absolutely. Hey, Ashley, what do you see as typically the norm? I know each facility is different, but like, what have you seen as kind of like the standard call off, just so that they know, kind of what to expect? Like, what have you seen mostly for our facilities that we partner with?
Well, I'd say industry standard. It used to be once every 2 weeks, and then I started seeing going towards hours. So like instead of 2 full shifts, it was 36 hours in a month. So if they send you home, 3 hours early, then they keep track of it. And your company should have a payroll department that's helping you keep track of that. But jot it on your paper and make sure when you submit your time, you're comparing the two. But
absolutely,
yeah. And sometimes, like I said, you get that one off where it's like guaranteed hours. Then it's like, oh, yes, yeah. Please send me home and I'll still get paid.
Yeah. See, I've seen, I would kind of like, not challenge that, but I would say a lot of what I've seen with our contracts are once a month. So you look at 3 shifts during an entire contract. If you get called off, again, if it's due to low census, you're still getting paid those tax-free subsidies, but you're just not getting paid for, whatever that taxable rate is for just 3 shifts if they do call you off once per month. So I don't think, you want to partner with, I think it's our jobs also to partner with facilities that don't have those, like, oh, we don't guarantee any hours. I know that it happens and some big hospitals have that, but we want to make the best pay package that we can, and we want to make sure that we're investing in you and you're investing in us so that you have the best opportunity to work and not get called off a ton, and so you can make that money and things like that.
Well, and with that, I don't know why I'm such like I don't know if you want to call me a black and white person today, or not a downer, but a realist. If your census drops and they say, hey, if you want to keep your hours, you're going to get floated. That's going to be a possibility. As travelers, you're more than likely going to be first to float. Ask about it in the interview, but be prepared. You know, if census drops, perm staff's probably going to stay. You're probably going to get asked to float. If you want your paycheck and you want to pay your bills, I mean, it sucks and no one's probably happy to do it, but I don't know. At the end of each assignment, everything here from my nurses is that I survived it. You know, it was a fun.
Yep.
I don't know if I cut out there or not, but
just a little bit at the end. I think Katie asked, how far in advance do you see open positions? How far in advance should a nurse start looking for a new or their next contract? So that's a great question. I know we talked a little bit about that. I think the industry turnaround is about 33 days from when a job is posted to when you talk to your recruiter about looking into that job, discussing pay package, submitting for that job, waiting and holding out for the interview, getting onboarded if you get an interview and offer, getting onboarded, and then officially started. I think it's about 33 days. When you're on assignment, it's a little different, depending on your extension. I know we talked about this a little last week. If you're looking at extensions, we start at around week 6, 7. Hey, you like it? You want to stay a little longer? If not, we're a couple weeks out from maybe looking at your next assignment. I don't know, Ashley, is there anything else to add on there? I'm sure you've got some more insight on that too.
No, I think they hit the nail on the head. It does say for your a new contract, those ones might be a little bit slower than somebody who's been in the industry for 3, 4, 5 contracts. First-time travelers, just know that there are a handful of jobs that require previous travel. So you might not get that first location where you really want to go to, even though they accept first-time travelers. Keep in mind to get started, if you have a good recruiter, they can push you in the right directions of the hospitals that will accept you. But to just be a little bit more open to where you're going, what shift you're going to work, the location and area, and the more open you are, the quicker you'll get your assignment.
Flexibility, that is huge. Yes. That is huge. I mean, Ashley was just talking about that just there. Like, flexibility as a first-time traveler, that is the first thing I tell a new traveler is, if you're new in the industry and you're like, this is my first assignment, it is my job, it is our job, Ashley and my job, every recruiter's job, to get exactly what you want. But as a first-time traveler, it can be really challenging, because you might, I think every single nurse I've ever spoken with says they want to go to California, and they forget that California's license process takes a really long time, and the verification after that is kind of a nuisance. But then California, if everybody wants to travel there, they've probably got the pick of every traveler in the country. And even Canada, we've got Canadian nurses all the time. And
Nick,
go ahead.
It's really important to touch on that point. In this industry, these jobs are getting anywhere from 5, not bad, 5 people you're competing with, to 80 profile submissions. That is an insane amount of competition. The less days off that you have, can you hear me? Again, yes, more flexibility. Sorry, go on. But literally 5 to 80 profiles per submission. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is, and it's not even 80 in like a week. It's like, it could be 80 in 2 hours. A job could immediately be posted. I know one place that I'm actually from the DFW area, and Dallas needs, they come and go. I know one of the first times I submitted my first nurse to a Dallas job, my account manager was like, yeah, so it's already full. And it's like, it just posted 30 minutes ago. And she's like, yeah, that's the market. And so, if you're a first-time traveler and you have these specific places, and again, a good recruiter will tell you, hey, it's going to be tough. This is where you want to go. You want to go to San Diego, California. You want to go to San Francisco, California. You don't have previous travel. You've got a couple years experience. It's going to be tough, because you're being submitted probably in that pool of 80, with 75% of them having at least one travel assignment under their belt.
And not only that, but you should have such a good relationship with your recruiter. I see it so often, like, not necessarily bashing recruiters, but just some recruiters that put a bad taste in people's mouth. And your recruiter and you should be on such a good relationship that when that job opens, I text you and I say, it's open, let's go. You respond back instantly, or you've already given me permission to send you, that you are the first of the 80 profile. No. I often say that I feel like I'm in a Wild West shootout. I have my hand on my hip with my gun, and as soon as my job opens for my nurse, who I know exactly what she's looking for, I draw. And if I'm not the quickest one, then I'm dead, and I don't have a job myself. So it's like I have to be best friends with my nurses, have their profile ready, know exactly where you want to go or what you're open to, and beat those other 80 profiles out there. Because if you're not first, you're last. I think some great minds said that. I think it was
Mr. Ricky Bobby said that, and personal hero of mine. But yes, Ricky Bobby, dead on. If you're not first, you're last. And that's the truth. I mean, it's ridiculous to quote Ricky Bobby in something like this, but it's true. Like, if sometimes that is what it takes, is you have to be the first person out there to be submitted. Because there's some nurse managers that'll, and this kind of goes to like answering your phone when a phone call comes. We realize that you're working and you're sleeping if you're a night shift nurse. We understand, life happens, but there have been times where a nurse manager has called a nurse was in the shower, just moved to the second file that quick because he didn't answer. And so it kind of goes to the same thing. Just like if we're not first on a submission, if you're not first to answer the phone, and that's just a big thing, just kind of to add on to it, just try and make yourself, even if you're on the unit, you can quickly hey, I can't, can I call you right back? I know shouldn't be recommending doing that, but if you have the ability to answer the phone and just say, can I call back in 5 minutes, and just take a break, that's huge, because it could be the difference between you and the next person in line. I want to shout out Alyssa Buckles. She asked a question. I'd love to. Alyssa, I'm writing your name down. We're going to send you a gift card too. Xander says hi. She's one of my nurses. She's awesome. I get to hear Xander in the back when I talk to her, and she always feels bad. I'm like, I've got a kid. I get it. Like, kids are going to talk. They're going to make noise. They're going to cry. They're going to scream. Your kids are amazing. Oh, pat on the back. Good mommy right there. That is A+ mommy right there. So she asked, generally, how soon do you hear back for an interview after you submit for a job? Ashley, do you want to tackle that one a little bit?
I mean, hopefully it's 24 to 48 hours, and we should be able to have a pretty good idea of like, hey, this manager interviews pretty quickly. So like Nick said, have your phone on you, answer it. 24 to 48 hours. And then at the opposite end, I've seen my nurses get called a week later. When you think the job is dead and it's going nowhere, all of a sudden you get a phone call. The most, Nick?
Oh, I have you beat on that. I have had a nurse submitted for 2.5 weeks, talk to the account manager like, hey, we haven't heard anything. We're going to pull the need there. We're just not getting any feedback, because that happens. Nurse managers go on vacation. They might not see your file for a couple weeks because they might be sitting on someone's desk on HR. There's tons of things. The need was pulled. A month went by from when we submitted to, she texted me a month later, it was almost to the day a month, and said, hey, so I just got a phone call from the nurse manager of that job we submitted for. We actually hadn't found anything for her during that month span. She ended up getting a job a month after we had submitted, and 2 weeks after we closed it, because it just was that sometimes, it happens that way. So in the ideal world, phone call, interview, offer, 24 to 48 hours. But we can't promise anything, because once it leaves our hands, it's in so many different people's hands. Your file could be touched by 7, 8 different people before a nurse manager actually physically has your resume, your file on their desk.
Well, and to go off of that, that's why it's so important to go with a reputable company. Of those 80, they might just see the TNAA logo and say, oh, they always send me such solid nurses. Boom, pull in this one.
Done. Yeah.
And as easy as that. I know this industry has been crazy with the number of agencies that have popped up over the last few years, but there is a game changer in going with a reputable company like us. And there's other good ones out there too, but I'm just saying that's can be a really big help in the job search. So, yeah,
hey, I don't know if you've looked at the time, but somehow we are at an hour. Thank you guys, everybody, for the questions too. I mean, not that we're necessarily done right now, but thank y'all so much for asking questions and keeping us, being able to respond to you, and hopefully we've helped answer any questions. I don't see anything else coming in. Do we have anything that you want to kind of finish with, like any tips, recommendations?
Okay. Well, if
pro tip from Ashley Hazen.
No, I created an Instagram account, and I really just post tips and fun little tidbits, kind of the real raw meat here that I'm talking about. It's travel_nurse_recruiter. Give me a visit, and then obviously with you guys and your Instagram account, like Insta Famous, Gone Garcia's.
It was a baseball thing, and again, I think we touched on this last time. It was really just for family and friends, and then it spiraled out of control a little bit. We're not really like social. You never like our stories. You don't really see us too much because Brittany and I hate being in front of the screen, which this live thing has been very nerve-wracking for me, having to and then we had to do it a second time. But Gone Garcia's, it's our Instagram account. It's just kind of showing what it has been like for us the last 3 years and what we've done, what we've seen. And, I think your handle is awesome because it tells you exactly who you are. So give us a follow if that's what y'all decide to do, if you're on Instagram and active. But again, thank you for your time, everybody. Appreciate it. I think we're good.
I think we're good. We are real life recruiters, so send us a message.
Please, yeah.
Ashley Show. Did you hear me?
I heard Ashley Show, so I think you're just promoting yourself.
At this point. No, I said we'll see you here next week on the Nick and Ashley Show.
Let's do it. All right, thank you.
Overtime pay, real quick. Hold on, John has a question.
Oh, there you go.
How does overtime pay work? If you get canceled, how does pay work? Overtime, pretty industry standard. After 40 hours in a week, you get your overtime rate. So your fourth shift, unless you're in California, and then we'll need a whole another hour to explain that. It's California. And then if it get canceled, we did touch on this, so go back and watch us, John. But you should, pretty industry standard, get your stipends. Any hours that you don't work because you called out sick, you obviously don't get paid your hourly wage. So long story, long answer, short there. But John, good question. One more Starbucks gift card for you. Send me a message, and I will get that in the mail. And
Please
then
do.
thank you all for tuning in. Go Hawkeyes. That's all I got. All right. Goodbye.
Go Pokes.